Welcome to everyone to this virtual conference, which indeed was planned to be held already last year. And it's held now because, as Marcus said, the topic of the conference is simply too important as not to have this event. This is the first international human rights conference that the International Nuremberg Academy and the Friedrich-Alexander-Universität Erlangen-Nürnberg organized jointly. The university is our closest neighbor, not only in proximity terms, but also in academic and content terms. Both our organizations have a strong mandate in human rights and in international criminal law. So we are linked to each other through a cooperation agreement and through quite a number of joint projects and events. This one is the first one, and I'm happy that we have it on human rights topics. I'd very much like to welcome all speakers and all participants from near and far, from Europe, from the Americas, and from other continents. Technology brings us together these days and allows a participation which otherwise would not have been possible, because not everyone is able, of course, to travel to Nuremberg just for a conference. So I'm very happy that we have a wide audience from around the world. My virtual background that you see here behind me is the historic courtroom 600, the room in which the Nuremberg trial took place, the place actually where it all began, where for the first time in history of mankind, perpetrators of mass atrocities were placed before a court, able to defend themselves, and after collecting the evidence, being convicted or even acquitted. That was a milestone in history. The Prohibition and Prosecution and Prevention of Enforced Disappearances, that's the title of this conference. It is a crime that has brought a lot of harm and structural disruption to so many people. And I'm pretty sure that the conference will show us opportunities, but also still gaps that we have in terms of investigating and prosecuting the systematic use of disappearance as a suppression tool. And forced disappearances have already played a role in the IMT trial here in this courtroom 600. Forced disappearances are mentioned in the judgment of the International Military Tribunal as a war crime in the meaning of Article 6b of the IMT Charter. And the judgment points out that the perpetrators knew exactly how severe this action was. It was Keitel who wrote in a cover letter to the Nacht- and Nebel-Erlass, the Night and Fog Decree in 1941, and I quote, "Efficient and enduring intimidation can only be achieved either by capital punishment or by measures by which the relatives of the criminal and the population do not know the fate of the criminal." And that tells us the gravity of a disappearance for the relatives was seen by the Nazi perpetrators as equal to the gravity of the death penalty. And I'm pretty sure many relatives of victims of the crime of enforced disappearances will entirely agree to that. This conference is as timely as it is important. And even in the time as of today, where we are challenged by a worldwide pandemic, we still see actual commission of enforced disappearances. We will see examples in this conference of old and new forms of commission of enforced disappearances, and we hopefully better understand where the pitfalls are in terms of preventing and prosecuting the crime of enforced disappearances. I'd like again to express a warm welcome to all speakers. We are most grateful for your willingness to participate, and I would particularly thank our keynote speaker, Professor Olivier de Frouville, as the Vice President of the United Nations Committee on Enforced Disappearances. I'm very much looking forward to interesting and inspiring presentations and discussions, and I'm sure they will contribute to our common goal, which is the fight against immunity for the perpetrators and the joint effort of preventing future crimes. I wish you all a great conference. Thank you very much.
I think now it's my turn. Thank you very much, Director Klaus Rackwitz, dear Professor Markus Krajewski, lieber Markus, dear participants, dear friends, dear guests, a warm welcome to this year's international conference on this important but also very sad topic at our Friedrich-Alexander-Universität Erlangen-Nürnberg. My name is Joachim Hornegger. I'm a computer scientist, to say this right at the beginning, and I'm currently serving as the president of our FAU, as we call our Friedrich-Alexander-University in short terms. I very much appreciate to have you for this international conference at our university. And believe me, I would very much appreciated to host you here in the Nuremberg area and to meet you in person. Due to the pandemic, we have to use the digital and the virtual setup, but I think that's also a proper environment for scientific exchange. And for our university, that is currently one of the most innovative universities worldwide, it's also okay to have a virtual conference. FAU is a traditional university. Just to explain you a little bit the embedding of our university here in the university scenario of Germany and Bavaria. Our university is a traditional university. We are a full spectrum university covering a huge range of different disciplines, and interdisciplinarity and collaboration with our partners in the region is something that is very characteristic for our university. Our university was founded in 1743, and right from the beginning, the School of Law was existing and has made significant contributions to Erlangen's and our university's reputation. Our university is a key location for legal knowledge, teaching, but also for studying. And the university board supports a lot the human rights activities at our university with additional professorships, but also with additional education programs. We have a master program for human rights, for example, an international and also an interdisciplinary program covering human rights in their legal, political, and philosophical dimensions. Currently, we have, and that's a really important number, students from 39 countries at our university for the 3-semester program. That means 2 semesters of lectures and 1 semester for thesis writing. We have a unique profile at FAU with international law specialists. And just to name a few, Professor Christoph Safferling, for example, he's in criminal law, especially international criminal law and public international law. And of course, Markus Krajewski, who has opened this conference and who serves as a co-organizer of this conference. And we have also in our political department the chair for human rights and human rights politics that is headed by Professor Dr. Heiner Bielefeld. Together in our center that we have established, the Center for Human Rights Erlangen-Nürnberg, we have a very close collaboration, and Klaus had already mentioned this, with the Nuremberg Human Rights Center. Nuremberg stands for human rights. It is the city for human rights, and the International Academy of Nuremberg principles directed, as we already have seen today, by Director Klaus Rackwitz. We are very proud of the work and the ideas of the organizers of the conference, and we are very grateful to Professor Krajewski and Director Rackwitz and their teams. I want to thank in particular Professor Olivier de Frouville. He's the director of the Paris Research Center for Human Rights and Humanitarian Law and vice president of the United Nations Committee on Enforced Disappearances, for his keynote address today. Warm welcome, Professor Frouville. I also want to thank my colleagues and FAU family members, let me say it this way, for their participation. Barbara Lochbieler, she is associate professor at our master program of human rights, and Dr. Rainer Huhle, who serves as an FAU lecturer and co-founder of the mentioned Nuremberg Human Rights Center. At the end, I want to wish you an interesting conference with interesting lectures, exciting discussions, and of course, a rich outcome of your event. May your work help to better understand and prosecute enforce disappearances, and lead finally to a better world. Thank you very much and all the best. Stay healthy.